The American Association of Individual Investors welcomes you to the Stock Investor Pro video tutorial series. Today, we will explain how you can see how a company measured up against its sector and industry peers by using the sector and industry median data that is available in the database. Sector and median data in Stock Investor Pro can be used to compare a company against its sector and industry peers. These medians allow you to compare various data points against those of all other companies in the same sector or industry in which the firm operates. Since many data fields, especially financial ratios, tend to be sector or industry specific, it is important to perform an apples-to-apples comparison of companies in similar lines of business. For a given field in Stock Investor that has sector and industry medians, all of the valid, non-null values for the companies in a given sector or industry are examined to arrive at the median or midpoint value. For example, the sector and industry medians for the price-earnings ratio are based only on the companies in the same sector or industry that have a value for current price and a reported positive trailing 12-month earnings per share. If either of these data points are missing, or if the company's trailing earnings are negative, the company will have a null or NA price-earnings ratio and will not impact its sector or industry median value. Median values are useful in financial analysis because they tend to reflect a more accurate view, since they are typically less affected by large deviations or outliers in the data. For example, if you take a series of values, such as 5, 10, 15, 20, and 100, the average of this set of data is 30, while the median value is 15. Not all fields in Stock Investor Pro have corresponding sector and industry medians. To find out whether a data point has these medians, go to the field definitions in the Help system by selecting Help, and then Contents and Index. Fields are listed in alphabetical order as well as by program data category. Here we see the field definition for net margin. Each field definition includes its definition, its data table name, its data category, its field type, whether it has a percentile rank, and whether industry and sector median data is available. In the case of net margin figures in Stock Investor, industry and median figures are available. Many of the data fields found on the various Stock Notebook tabs have corresponding sector and industry medians displayed there as well. Here, we see a portion of the Ratios tab of the Stock Notebook displaying data for retailer Burlington Stores, Inc. as of July 19, 2016. The first ratio on this tab is the gross profit margin, and there are lines for Burlington's, or the company, gross profit margin time series data, as well as the percent rank, sector, and industry median values. Gross profit margin is the company's total sales revenue minus its cost of goods sold, divided by the total sales revenue, expressed as a percentage. The gross margin represents the percent of total sales revenue that the company retains after incurring the direct costs associated with producing the goods and services sold by a company. The higher the percentage, the more the company retains on each dollar of sales to service its other costs and obligations. At the top of the Ratios tab in Stock Investor, just below the company name and price data, are the respective sector and industry classifications for Burlington. In this case, the company is in the services sector in retail, department, and discount industry. Burlington's current gross profit margin as of July 19, 2016 is 40.4%. By means of comparison, the companies in the services sector have a median gross profit margin of 45.7%, while the median value for the retail, department, and discount industry is 35.5%. Based on this data, at least currently, Burlington is retaining more of every dollar of revenue it generates as gross profit than the typical company in the retail, department, and discount industry. You will also find sector and industry median data on the multiples and growth tabs of the Stock Notebook in Stock Investor Pro. Now, let's look at a portion of the Multiples tab for Apple Inc. with data as of July 19, 2016. The first price multiple on this tab is price to earnings per share, or PE. As of July 19, 2016, Apple has a PE of 11.1, while the median price earnings ratio for the technology sector is 24.9, and the median value for the communications equipment sector is 23.8. Based on these current values, it would seem that Apple is undervalued, at least in terms of its PE ratio, relative to the typical company in its sector and industry. It is also worth mentioning that the sector and industry classifications in Stock Investor Pro come from our data provider, Thomson Reuters. These classifications tend to be proprietary in nature, so depending on the data source, the same company may be classified differently. Beyond simply viewing sector and industry median data from the stock notebook in Stock Investor Pro, users may also integrate the data into their screening filters. With the sector and industry data in Stock Investor Pro, you screen on a relative basis, such that you are looking for companies whose own value for a particular data field is higher or lower than its sector or industry bogey. To illustrate how you can use sector or industry medians to screen in Stock Investor Pro, let's create an example screen that looks for companies exhibiting the characteristics shown here. Unlike percent rank and other data fields available for screening in Stock Investor Pro, you do not select sector or industry median fields from the field cell in the screen editor. Instead, you select them from the Compare To cell. The first filter of our example screen looks for companies whose PE is less than the industry median PE. So we begin by selecting PE from the multiples data category in the field cell. We then select the less than operator, and finally click in the Compare To cell. Single-clicking in the Compare To cell will bring up the field picker similar to the one we see when clicking in the field cell. However, there is a difference. There are two additional categories at the top of the list: standard deviations and medians. Clicking on the plus sign next to medians will offer you the choice of sector or an industry median, as well as universal median. Double-clicking on industry finishes the first filter in our example. Here, we see our completed example screen. As of July 19, 2016, 22 companies passed this collection of criteria. Keep in mind, however, that the results of a quantitative stock screen such as this do not mark the end of your analysis. It instead gives you a more manageable list of companies on which to perform additional analysis and due diligence before deciding whether to add a company to your investment portfolio. Sector and industry medians are useful for comparing companies against their peers, or companies in similar lines of business. This type of relative analysis can help you identify the leaders or laggards in a given sector or industry. This concludes this installment of the Stock Investor Pro video tutorial series. To view more of these tutorials to unlock the full value of your Stock Investor Pro subscription, visit the Stock Investor area of AAII.com and select the Video Tutorials link. The Stock Investor area of AAII.com also provides a wealth of user resources, including troubleshooting advice. If you have any questions about or problems with Stock Investor Pro, feel free to contact AAII Technical Support via email at techsupport@aai.com.